What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. We are back. I'm Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor, joined once again, as always, by Michelle Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer. What a time to be a soccer fan. We've got Inter Miami playing. We've got Copa America going on. We've got the Euro going on. I mean, right now, lots of excitement. I
It's
mean, a lot of
heaven.
stuff going on.
It's
Yeah,
soccer. It's soccer heaven.
it
It's
really
soccer
is.
heaven right now. I mean, pretty much from morning, afternoon, evening, you can watch, you know, everything. I mean, I see Alexi Lalas. I guess he's not sleeping because
Yeah.
these guys on Fox they're on TV day and night with Euros and with Copa and with everything. So
You know who I like? That kid that's in. I don't know if he's a kid. I can't tell his age by the costume, but the guy who's dressed up cosplaying Alexi Lalas, like in the front row at the USA games. He's got the curls.
oh yeah.
He's got the
Yeah.
beard. That guy's awesome. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's a
that's fun.
kid or, but yeah, that's fun. So I hope those guys are getting some sleep these days because they're probably pretty exhausted out there too. But they're loving it. They're loving it. USA on top, 2-0, beating Bolivia. So far, so good for them. But we want to dive
Yeah,
in right away, yeah, and talk about that. I mean,
let's
a good
dive
good
in.
start. While we wanted to actually start with Inter Miami. Speaking of 2-0, without Messi and Suarez, who knew? Look at that. With victories over Philadelphia, they beat Columbus. We were talking about how big of an underdog they might be in that game, but Ian Frey, what a good story to come back. This is a guy who's had 3 ACL surgeries, scores in his first game back. Leo Campana scored. Miami's still leading the supporter shield race, even though they're without their superstars right now. And next up, that feisty Nashville team that they always have a battle with out in Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the last two games they did better than they did the previous two games with Messi and Suarez. I'm not saying they don't need Messi and Suarez, but the team has really stepped up. All of these other guys, I think they probably were tired. To be honest, if you were one of these guys, wouldn't you be tired of hearing everybody say, "Oh, we got to get to as many points as possible by June 1st," because then, after June 1st, it's going to be like they're going to fall off a cliff. I mean, if you're one of these other players, I'm sure, somewhere in your mind you're thinking, let's show that we can win with the guys that we have. And they did. I mean, and they beat two good teams. Philadelphia is always a strong team, and it was on the road. And then we talked about Columbus Crew, defending champion. They were at full strength. They were not missing players for national team, for Euros, for Copa, nothing. They had full strength, defending champion, a very, very strong team, and Inter Miami beat them without Messi, without Suarez, without Rojas, without Redondo, without Gomez, without Freire, without, I mean, they beat them with a whole bunch of different guys, and starting with Ian Frey. What an incredible story. I do not know how that young man has the fortitude, especially at his age, at any age, to come back from three knee surgeries. Three, not one,
Three
not
major knee
two,
surgeries.
three major ACL knee surgeries. At some point, a normal person would just say, I'm done. I
Sure.
can't do this. This is obviously my knee is messed up.
Yep.
And he came back, comes in and is starting his first game back after this long, long, long layoff, and scores the opening goal. It was really nice to see for that young man, for the work that he's put in. And I'm out there at the practices. I'm out there at the training sessions, and I've seen the hard work and the attitude that that young man has had for years now. And every time he gets back, he gets, knocked out again. It really was wonderful to see. And a local kid, a Broward County kid who made the team through the academy. And, I know that Phil Neville loved him. Tata loves him. There's something to Ian Frey. He's an outstanding player. And for him to score, and he's a center back. He was playing out on the wing, but this is a very versatile young player who, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a great, great, great addition to this team. But yeah, I mean, for this team to win two games in a row against two good opponents without all the players that, all these guys that are missing, it really is a testament to those players. It's also a testament to Tata Martino. I
Mm.
think that it's time to give Tata some credit. You people might think you just throw those superstars on the field. Well, A, we know that's not true. And B, they don't have the superstars right now and they're still winning. So I think Tata deserves some credit.
Yeah, and especially, and you're talking about the academy. You're talking about home. We were talking about that last week. The homegrown players, how they need to do things like that to sustain this team in years to come. You know, especially after Messi. You know, the day Messi hangs it up, you want to have that kind of. There's an example right there. They have to get more guys like an Ian Frey to step up, become valuable players on their squad. So good to see. And just minutes before we recorded this, I know Ian Frey, you said, had met with the media. The media being you, Michelle. It was kind of like the old days out
I
there
was
today.
the only one. It is,
Everybody's so
I got to
focused on
tell you,
Copa. It's like the old days.
everybody, it is like the old days. I was the only one at training today. When I say the only one, I was la única. I was la única today. I got to speak to Ian Frey and to Yannick Bright. I was the only person who was there 2 weeks ago when Gressel, Julian Gressel, and Ryan Saylor were available. I was the only one that day also. Inter Miami is very different when Messi is there and when Messi is not there, in every way, and also with the media. The attention on this team is really about Messi. Everything surrounds Messi, and when he's gone from the team, I am still there. I want you all to know, everyone who's listening and watching the Miami Herald. We are here to cover Inter Miami, not just Lionel Messi. It's not just Messi FC. It's Inter Miami. It's a team that I have been covering from the start, and I cover whether Messi's there or not. So yeah, I was out there, got to speak to Ian Frey. He talked about just how much confidence he feels right now. He said, I asked him, how do you have the mental capability to do what you've done? And he said, believe it or not, each time that I've come back from the surgeries, I've been stronger than I was before. So he said right now he's a better player than he was before he had his first knee injury, and before he had his second injury, and before he had the third injury. So he's feeling really good. He was also very uh, appreciative that Tata and the coaching staff and the players have so much belief in him that they never gave up on him. And that meant a lot to him too. So it was great to see what he's done and to speak to him. And the team is, those two guys anyway said that they are feeling really good about themselves. They've shown that they can win with the group that they have, and they are determined to keep that going. At Nashville on Saturday, it's going to be a road game. It's going to be tough, but they want to do it. They want to show it for themselves, and they also want to do it for the guys who are missing, to show, hey, we can, we love you guys, we need you guys, but we're going to win for you also. So the team is highly motivated right now and in a very, very good place. And yes, still in first place.
Well, as Michelle said, this show is called Inside Inter Miami for a reason. We do cover the club, and we talked about them a little bit, but we have to address the elephant in the room, and that's that Messi has a boo boo again. He's hurt again. I mean, Argentina advanced, and I know he didn't.
Discomfort. He has
Discomfort,
discomfort.
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 Yeah. So I
Yes.
mean, the alarm bell's going off again. But the good news for Argentina, strong win. We watched the game last night against as of this recording, 1-0 over Chile. They get the goal late. Messi doesn't get an assist officially, but he did have the corner kick that created all the chaos in front of the goal that led to the goal, the game-winning score. So he's not on the score sheet so far in the first two games, but 2 clean sheets, 2
But
blankings
that
of
is that is worth noting.
yeah,
Let's note that
right.
Lionel Messi, the best player of all time, the GOAT of GOATs, and everything you want to say, he has not scored in
Yeah.
the
Or
first two
assisted
games. And
officially.
yeah, well, yeah, but he didn't score against Canada, and he did
Right.
not score against Chile either. And so the question is why? And I'll ask you, what do you think? Is he a little off? Is it that the competition is just that much better in Copa America against national teams than it is against MLS teams? Because in MLS, let's admit it, 12 goals in 12 games, 13 assists. I mean, the guy is, on fire in MLS. So what's the drop off? Is the drop off because of the competition? Is the drop off because there's so much more pressure in Copa America? or is he a little bit off? Is he a little bit out of sync with these teammates, as opposed to, with Suarez, Busi, and Jordy? Those are like, they have telepathy between them. Maybe when
Yeah.
national teams get together, they haven't been together, for long stretches of time. They have to work their way into form. What do you think, Andre? What do you think is the
I,
reason that he hasn't scored?
I mean, just from watching it yesterday, I think it's a combo of what you said about being not so in sync. I wouldn't say he's out of sync, but not as in sync as he is with these players. I mean, think about the training time. They haven't had that much training time with all these players on Argentina. But at the same time, I'm leaning towards the skill level because Chile looked very good defensively throughout the majority of that match. I mean, Messi was moving well. It just looked like he was trying to maneuver
Getting
through,
a
metaphorically speaking, trying to move through tall grass. Like when you're trying to like
Yeah.
everything to Chile dropped
And it
one
looked like
defender,
they'd
two
have three.
defenders.
It looked like they had three on him.
They,
There
they
were
did.
many
There were
times
many
where
times
they
they
had
did.
three
Like
defenders closing in on him. Yeah.
the only time he broke off and made some sort of spectacular dribble or whatever for the first 70 75 minutes was in the middle of the field. It felt like as soon as they got in the attacking zone, he was double marked. It was just an effort to get the ball from one spot to another. The only time was at the end when they finally created a few chances against the run of play and got a turnover or something, was when they finally did something. And then of course he created the one score off the corner kick, off a set piece. But I think
Right.
it's the skill level too. I mean, Chile's a very good team. I mean, Chile's one of the
Yes. Well,
strongest
Chile, and
sides
they have
in this thing.
history. Right. And they have
Yeah,
history. The game on Tuesday night had all kinds of storylines, because this is the team that Chile beat Argentina twice back to back in Copa finals, both in PKs. And the one in 2016, Messi missed his PK. That was one of the lower points of his
right.
career, where he missed that PK. They lost, and he was crying in the tunnel after that game, and he briefly retired after that loss. It was so devastating to him that he said, "I am done with the national team. I am, this is not for me anymore." And he briefly retired after that loss. That's how painful it was. And it was at MetLife Stadium in East
Mm.
Rutherford, New Jersey, the same exact place, on
Yep.
his birthday week. Same exact situation. Birthday week, East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, playing against Chile. Not
Yep.
for the final, but still a
But still, right.
rival that has always had Argentina's number. Chile does seem to have Argentina's number. They know how to play against them, and they are not intimidated by Argentina, because first of all, a lot of these guys have played together before in club, and the Chilean team is never intimidated by Argentina. So it's always a good matchup. That was a huge win for Argentina to get. And now, from what I am seeing and hearing, Scaloni is going to go with a B team with a lot of the subs for the next game against Peru. I'm sorry for all of you fans who are traveling to South Florida or
Yep.
live in South Florida and paid huge money for the game at Hard Rock Stadium on Saturday against Peru. You are still going to get to see Argentina, but you
Right.
are more than likely not going to get to see Lionel Messi. He is going to sit out this game. First of all, they've already clinched a spot in the
Right. That's the
quarterfinal.
biggest reason.
Scaloni said the biggest reason is Scaloni said now it's time for the guys who have not played the first two games to get an opportunity. They deserve it. I want to see them play. So I plan to play all those players who have not played. We are going to see them against Peru on Saturday. Number two, once again, the boo boo, the discomfort. Messi at the very, very close to the beginning of the game against Chile, he pulls up with an upper adductor again, which is where he has had an injury before. They tried to rub it out. He was with the trainer. He did stay in the game, but after the game, he was asked about it, in the mix zone. He was asked about it, and he said that he did have some discomfort from before the game, that he felt a little bit tight, not as loose as he should have been. He was able to continue. He was able to play the whole game, but he did have a little bit of molestia. He had a little bit of discomfort. And, when he has discomfort, like you said, all the alarm bells go off all
Hmm.
over the Argentine world
And
and for
here.
the Inter Miami and here. Inter Miami, my Inter Miami fans do not want him to get injured on national team duty. And then when it's time for him to come back, he's going to have to take a rest.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see whether this is just a mild injury and he'll be back. He said in his interviews after the game that he does plan to play in the quarterfinals, but it does look like he's not going to play against Peru on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the plus side, the next, I guess you could say, meaningful Argentina game, since Saturday is pretty much now just an exhibition, they're going to have most of the bench, like you mentioned, would be against Group B runner-up on the 4th of July. And that right now, Group B, Venezuela and Mexico are tied 3 points each. They haven't gone through all their rounds of games yet. Ecuador and Jamaica 0-0. Neither one is on the board yet points-wise. But, I mean, if it's Mexico, we've talked about it before, the Mexican side still strong, but
they're
not
a little down,
as strong.
A little down. Right.
But Venezuela
they had trouble.
Sneaky.
They had trouble beating Venezuela. Very tough. Venezuela sneaky. Ecuador can also be good. That group, I said it before the tournament, that is the most difficult group to predict, in my opinion. That group of Venezuela, Mexico, Ecuador, and Jamaica, that is the hardest group to predict because Mexico is not quite Mexico. Venezuela is punching a little bit above the weight that you normally would expect. Venezuela is playing very well. Mexico has had trouble with Jamaica, and they've really been down. They've been up and down. They've been inconsistent, and they have a lot of new players. Ecuador can be good. Still has to show it in the last two games, and then Jamaica, you never know with Jamaica either. So, this is a very tough group to predict, but the second place team in that group is going to play Argentina. And, Argentina so far, they won both games. Yes, I wouldn't say that they look far superior to everybody else. I wouldn't say they look like world beaters considering the roster that they have. I think Colombia is dangerous. I think Colombia is dangerous. I think Uruguay is also going to be dangerous. And let's talk about the United States. Yeah. It remains to be seen because their games are going from least difficult to most difficult. So they beat Bolivia 2-0. That's a great start. Pulisic scoring in the first 3 minutes. That's a really great way to start the tournament.
And it could have been more because the Bolivian goalie stopped a bunch of shots in the second half. I mean, they could have put up 4 or 5 on them. They really could have.
Right, and they probably should have put up more, but they ended up winning 2-0. It's a good start for the United States. It really is. Now this next game is going to be against Panama. Panama is tough. Panama, it's a tough game. We saw that. It's a tough game we saw it with Ecuador. With Uruguay. They have a good coach. They have some very good players. They can play well defensively. They're going to put up a tougher fight than Bolivia. And then the third game will be Uruguay, which on paper should be the toughest game for the United States. So that group also remains to be seen. Is the U.S. going to finish first? Is the U.S. going to finish second? And then who are they going to play? Brazil? Surprise. I mentioned before, they are not the Brazil of the past. They're really on a struggling right now. For them to tie Costa Rica and not score against Costa Rica, the Brazilian community is not too happy with that result. This is no knock on the Ticos. I love Costa Rica. I love Pura Vida. I love that country. I have visited there. Always root for Costa Rican people. They are wonderful. But Brazil to tie Costa Rica that's an alarming result if you are from Brazil.
Yeah, and the U.S. recently, not the same. It was an exhibition, but a 1-1 draw with Brazil on June 12th. So, I mean, for what that's worth, maybe a little bit, just at least knowing you can play with them a bit if that ends up being the game. But looking at the standings, we'll have a little more clarity as of Wednesday night on Group B as they go through their second round of games. The U.S. plays Thursday night, if you're watching and following, against Panama, that game that Michelle mentioned at 6 o'clock, and then Uruguay, Bolivia. If the chalk holds, that game in Atlanta, by the way, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the U.S. If the chalk holds, then we're setting up a USA-Uruguay showdown for the group, and that would be on July 1st at Arrowhead Stadium. I still call it Arrowhead Stadium. I know it's called something else now,
Yes,
but in
yes. No,
Kansas
it's
City.
Arrowhead. That's fine. It's Arrowhead
Yeah,
Stadium.
but it's
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Kansas City. But yeah, that would be
Yes.
the showdown there, and it's important because, like we said, it could mean a matchup against a conceivably not as good Brazil team if they win the group, or assuming Colombia does win that group, then if the U.S. is the runner-up, then they get a potentially much tougher matchup against the Colombian side. So it'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
how it all shakes out.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. One thing I want to talk about too, which we haven't had a chance to talk about, is the whole turf thing. There's been a lot of criticism. This is criticism of the United States, which, people love to criticize the United States, of course. But, this is a big tournament and the World Cup is coming in 2026. And the Argentine team was really upset with the field condition at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And the thing is, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is one of the crown jewels of the NFL stadiums, so the United States wants to show off these very fancy stadiums that we have with all the bells and whistles, with the luxury boxes, with all that stuff. By
Right.
doing that, two downsides to that. Number one, the ticket prices are extremely expensive. Part of it is because renting those stadiums, you're talking about the AT&T Stadium in Dallas, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium and Hard Rock Stadium. These are the crown jewels of stadiums of the United States. So the tickets, even the cheapest tickets, are very, very expensive. And what happens is then for the whole tournament, the tickets are expensive, and some of the stadiums are not selling well. Some are, of course, when Argentina plays, those Argentine fans, they will go anywhere. And if you guys watched and saw the pictures from New York, I mean, Times Square looked like Buenos Aires. It was
Yes.
impossible to tell the difference of Buenos Aires and Times Square. That was an unbelievable parade of people for the banderazo the night before the game. It's incredible the following that Argentina has. I saw them last Thursday for the opener in Atlanta. The party scene, how they take over the streets, it's unreal. So wherever Argentina goes, they're going to sell out, whether it's 70,000, 80,000, they would sell out 100,000. But there are some people who have suggested that maybe for this tournament, instead of being in some of these NFL stadiums that have artificial turf, six of the stadiums have artificial turf, which they then have to cover with real grass because FIFA does not allow artificial turf. And what we saw in the first game, Argentina, they were just making excuses, I don't know, but they were very upset with the field condition. They said that there were seams, that there were bumps, that the ball was not rolling the way it's supposed to roll. And that really is embarrassing. That should not be the case for a tournament of the magnitude of Copa America, and with the World Cup coming, they're going to have to figure out a way to either A, lay that grass down way further in advance than 5 days before the match, so that the grass, they sew the seams together, but they need to leave time for those grass fields to really blend and become a first class field, because they should not be hosting a tournament of this magnitude, with fields that are not 100% the top field. So that is one thing to look at going forward in this tournament, the condition of the fields, and also going forward to the World Cup in 2026. That's something that needs to be addressed for sure.
Yeah, you're right. And they're playing with you said it, probably the best stadiums in the NFL with Jerry World and Atlanta, like we talked about, the stadium that's still relatively new in Vegas, Allegiant Stadium.
In Vegas,
So
exactly. Yeah.
SoFi. I've been there from covering Dolphin games there. SoFi is unbelievable out in LA. That's another one that people
Yeah,
have
no, these
striked
are
me.
all beautiful. They're
Yeah,
all beautiful stadiums, but some people were
but the
saying
field.
they should have maybe held it in college stadiums where they have beautiful fields. The college stadiums, they have large capacity, but it wouldn't have cost as much to rent college stadiums. And
Right.
then, the ticket prices would, if there was a $20 ticket, a $25 ticket, instead of tickets starting at 75, 100, 150, maybe they could have filled all the stadiums. So, it's a balancing act. The U.S. obviously wants to show its best its best stadiums and its fanciest stadiums with all of the amenities. And those are the big NFL palaces that we have in this country. But some of those are on artificial turf, and that is a problem for soccer. International soccer stars do not want to play on that. It's not what they're used to. They're worried about injuries. So that is something that is going to have to be addressed going forward for the World Club Championship and for the World Cup in 2026, is if they are going to replace the turf with grass, it needs to be done maybe earlier so that the grass has time to grow together and be uniform instead of having the seams and the lines that the Argentine team and some other players have complained about.
Yeah. Well, assuming Argentina, something crazy doesn't happen on Saturday. How about Canada though? With second place right now, 3 points. Canadians bouncing back from that loss to Argentina. They have a chance to advance. But assuming nothing insane happens where Argentina loses and they lose some sort of tiebreaker, they win Group A, 4th of July. They're playing their first their knockout stage game, and that'll be in Houston, another one of those big stadiums, NRG Stadium. They've had Super Bowls there, the home of the Texans in the NFL.
Right.
So we'll see.
Oh,
We'll see how
that'll
it goes.
sell out. That'll
Sell out.
sell out. That'll sell
Yeah.
out. That'll sell out. And by the way, if that's against Mexico,
Yeah.
that will be spicy. That'll be a five fire, alarm,
Yeah.
spicy
Picante.
game, because that's going to be picante times 10. Because if you have that Argentine traveling mob of fans with the Mexicans in Houston, that would be an unbelievable matchup from a fan standpoint. It would
Yeah.
be incredible.
That one needs to have, like we've said before, like on those menus, it needs to have the 3 little red peppers on it. Like, be careful.
I think
Or
four
maybe
red
4.
peppers. I think
4 alarm
I
fire.
think if Argentina is playing Mexico in Houston, I
Yep.
think that's a 4 red pepper game. That would be just Houston is like a Mexico home game. I mean, that's absolutely when Mexico plays in LA and when Mexico plays in Houston, that is like a home game. So Argentina will definitely bring their incredible band of followers. They will go wherever this team goes, but the Mexicans also will be in Houston without question. So that'll be interesting to see if Mexico does in fact finish second. If it's Venezuela, Venezuelans, they are also very passionate, but they're not as congregated in Houston as Mexicans are.
Yep. Well, let's finish it up with some impressions of all these tournaments so far, and we haven't talked at all yet about Euro 2024. I mean, they're a little bit ahead because they're about to start on Saturday. They're about to start the knockout stage, their round of 16. The last round of pool play for the final 2 groups was happening on Wednesday, but some of the matchups are set already. Italy is facing Switzerland, Germany is facing Denmark, and then we've got England is already through. And Spain is already through, and that's the team that's really been impressive so far. I mean, you could say maybe the group doesn't have the depth of some of the other groups, but Spain has been dominant. I think it's 3 shutouts. They're 3-0. They got all 9 possible points in that group.
Yep.
So how about
Yep.
España? España doing well.
España, I think España is the team to beat. I mean, I would say España and Germany are the 2 teams that have looked the best. France was a big favorite, but had to work really hard. England, another one that's had to work hard, that has not looked spectacular. Yes, they got through, but with 5 points.
Yeah.
España 9 points and shutouts. 5 goals for, 0 against. So I think Spain looks very strong. Germany looks strong, and Austria, a surprise team. Austria is look very good, and Netherlands and Belgium, those teams that are just always stacked with talent and have the talent to beat anybody, but something seems to go wrong sometimes. Austria this time, having some good success. Portugal with 6 points through the first 2 games, so Portugal looks like they're going to go through. So it should be interesting. Right now, I would say, if I was going to pick, I would say Spain and Germany, to me, which are very different teams, but they look to me the strongest teams. What do you think? And what surprises do you think? Does anything surprise you? Or
Well, what's interesting too, and this is one of the ones that's going to be settled as of Wednesday, Group E is crazy. Every team has 3 points going into the final round of games, and that's Belgium, Slovakia,
Romania. Yep.
Romania, and the Ukraine. So that's a wide open one right there.
That's
Portugal,
anybody. That's why they're starting over. They're basically
yeah,
starting over with the second game because
right,
everybody has 3 points. Everybody's even. We have no idea to know at the recording of this podcast what's going to
right.
happen in that group. That is a
Port,
very
Port,
very yeah
yeah,
unpredictable.
Portugal did clinch. By the way, it looks like they're through as of now. Even
They're
though they
through with
still
six
have
points.
they're through with 6 points, even though they're still playing Georgia, which is interesting. Georgia's still mathematically, I think, alive for a spot, but obviously they'd have to win and get some help in that game. And then Chechnya against Turkey as well. That's another one that you don't hear too much about. Also in that
Yeah, the Czech
the Czech
Republic. And I was
Republic.
just there. I was just in Prague on vacation.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sure
were
they're very happy. I was just there. I'm sure they're very happy. They're drinking their excellent beer, hoping that their team goes through. Yeah, it's been wonderful. I mean, I have to say, watching it's not the World Cup, but it almost is. It's like watching the World Cup cut in half. We're missing the African teams, we're missing the Asian teams, but it is almost like it's like a two-thirds of a World Cup where you've got the championship of the Americas going on simultaneously with the
right,
championships of Europe and watching it, being able to watch it in the United States. I mean, I remember the day when, and those of you who are older who are watching and listening, the day when if you lived in the United States, you could not watch the European Championships on TV at your home. You would
no,
have to go to a bar. You'd have to call a bar and say, "Do you have satellite? Or do you have a dish? Are you going to be showing the European Championships?" I mean,
right,
you would have to call around 10 different bars before you found one. Usually, an English pub. You could find an English
right,
or an Irish pub, and you would have to go, and they would have grainy. It would be really grainy. You could barely see who was playing. And you would, go there and find other soccer loving people, but
right.
you could not turn on your TV in the United States for 12 hours a day and watch world class soccer. And I just think it speaks to the growth of the game in this country that, kids today and young people, those of you that are in your 20s right now, who are soccer lovers, and you just are used to the idea that you can watch EPL, you can watch La Liga, you can watch the Euros, you can watch Copa, you can watch MLS. You are so lucky because soccer lovers, if they were your parents or your ancestors, it was really difficult to find soccer on TV. And now in this country, boom, you wake up, you can have breakfast with soccer at 9 a.m., you can have lunch at noon, you can have an afternoon snack, you can have dinner, late night games. I mean, it really is heaven for the soccer fans
How
in this country right now.
how about the concept of you wake up and let's say it was like right now, Copa America is going on. You only had available to you the one game at a time on Univision with Cantor calling it or something like that. And then right.
Yeah,
And then the concept of tape delay, if they were both going on at the same time, they could only show one live, and then you had to wait and
right.
see the other one. And you couldn't go
Right. And now
online,
you
you couldn't
can
go on your
choose
phone.
actually. Now you can watch it in English and you can watch it in Spanish.
Right.
You can watch it on Fox. You can watch it on Univision. You can watch Unimas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
like
mean,
it's
FS1,
everywhere. Yeah.
right. FS1 is showing them all. I mean, all of them, every single one in this
Yes.
tournament. And that's that
Every single
that didn't used to
everything.
be that way.
Right. And again, this it speaks to the growth of the game in this country. It really does, the growth of the sport. And the fans are becoming much more educated. There are pools out there, people are betting, there's brackets. The public in the United States is getting so much more educated on international soccer, and that can only help the growth of MLS, that can only help the growth of the game. Young kids are watching these games and seeing what it is supposed to look like at the highest level. It's not just young kids running around in their neighborhood youth clubs with moms and dads who really, let's be honest, don't have much of a clue, coaching them with little cones and having juice boxes and oranges at the end of the game. That's all fine and good, but the reason that the rest of the world's kids know how to play this game is that they're watching it on TV at the highest level from the time they're in the crib. And now that's happening here. Little kids can turn on the TV and see, Messi and Suarez and see, well, not Suarez yet, but Ronaldo, you can see Mbappe, you can see all these players on your TV screen in your home as a little kid who's learning to play the game with mom and dad in your local park. But then when you turn on the TV, you're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what it looks like. It's not just, I'm not just supposed to get the ball and run all the way, dribble all the way across the field. I'm supposed to pass the ball. And,
Right.
so I think it's all of this soccer that we're seeing on TV now is going to be valuable for the future of the sport in this country.
No doubt about it. And curious to see how the U.S. does, because I know that it seems like we always have that one result early. We get all excited, and then they have some kind of setback. So this is going to be very curious on Thursday to see how they come out against Panama. Do they take care of business and put themselves in a good position, or do they struggle, end up with a draw, or who knows, maybe worse, and then you don't want to face do or die with Uruguay. Sorry, but they have
Oh
to get
no,
something.
definitely not. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. No, it should be fun to watch.
yeah,
Absolutely. So
they looked
lots to
good.
talk about, lots
But,
to watch. They did look good. I thought they looked
yeah.
good too. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but we'll be back next week to talk a little bit more about that, and obviously we'll recap on the home front. We'll recap Inter Miami's game against Nashville, and then look
And
ahead to what's
Messi's
next.
boo boo. We're gonna give the update. We'll
Yeah.
have to
Well, definitely.
keep tags on Messi's boo boo on his
Right.
discomfort, and let's see what happens with that.
Yeah. Saturday's game is still going to be a spectacle. It's still going to be full. You're going to have a lot of Argentina is going to be flooding that place with fans, I'm sure. Peru's going to have fans too. Let's not shortchange
Oh
them.
yes, Peru has
Their
a
fans will
strong.
be there.
There are a lot of Peruvians in South Florida, plus ones who travel. So no,
Yep.
that game will be hot. That game will be good. Even the Uruguay Panama game had 35,000, but it was a
Yeah.
loud 35,000. It was a
Yeah.
very spirited, loud 35,000. So I'm sure this game, Argentina against Peru, is going to be a fabulous game. Even if a lot of the starters are not playing, even if Messi doesn't play, it'll still be a great atmosphere.
Definitely. So we'll be back next week, and we appreciate it as always. Remember, you could catch us at MiamiHerald.com or on YouTube, and you can listen to us on Spotify, all the favorite podcatchers that you tend to use. We're there, and we'll be back next week again. For Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Thank you for watching Inside Inter Miami. See you next week.